Have you ever walked into a room and felt the energy shift? Not because of what you said, but because of something invisible you carried in with you? Something you didn't even realize was broadcasting from every gesture, every word, every pause. There's this unspoken language that operates beneath conversations, beneath smiles, beneath handshakes. And the people who've climbed to positions of real influence have become fluent in reading it. They can sense within moments whether someone operates from strength or from a place they'd rather not get entangled with. It's not judgment in the cruel sense. It's protection, because they've learned the hard way that certain patterns of thinking and behaving create chaos, drain momentum, and turn opportunity into burden. And here's what most people miss. The habits that repel powerful individuals aren't always the loud, obvious ones. They're quiet, normal, the kind of things you might defend as harmless or even justified. But to someone who's built something real, these behaviors light up like warning signals. Imagine sitting across from someone who can't seem to settle into their own skin unless they feel the room's approval first. You watch their eyes scan faces, searching for validation before they've even spoken. That hunger for external permission isn't subtle to those who operate at high levels. It tells them immediately, this person can be steered. This person needs to be liked more than they need to be honest. And that makes them unpredictable, moldable, exhausting. Because now, you're not dealing with a grounded individual. You're dealing with someone whose entire emotional state depends on the reactions they receive. Powerful people don't have the bandwidth to emotionally babysit adults. They gravitate toward those who can hold their center, who can disagree without crumbling, who don't need applause to know their own worth. Then there's the person who narrates their limitations like sacred scripture. You've heard the lines, "I'm just not that kind of person. People like me don't get those chances." That's just how things are. To someone who's fought their way through barriers, this sounds less like humility and more like surrender. It's poverty thinking wearing the mask of realism. And what makes it truly repelling is that it signals a closed loop, a mind that's already decided its ceiling and locked the door from the inside. When you've spent years breaking through what others said was impossible, sitting with someone who worships their own limitations feels suffocating. It's like offering a map to someone who insists they're already at the destination, even though they're standing in a ditch. Here's one most people don't realize is damaging them: being chronically reachable, always responding instantly, always available, always saying yes, even when stretched impossibly thin. It screams that your time has no boundaries, and therefore no value. The moment someone powerful realizes you'll drop everything at the ping of a notification, they mentally categorize you as someone who hasn't built anything important enough to protect. High-caliber individuals treat their time like sacred territory, guarded, intentional, defended. If anyone can interrupt your day at will, it signals you're not steering your own ship. And if you can't manage your own schedule, how could anyone trust you with real responsibility or influence? Connected to this is how someone responds when pressure enters the room. Some people collapse the moment stakes rise even slightly. One tight deadline, one difficult conversation, one unexpected complication, and suddenly they're spiraling, venting, avoiding everything like it's radioactive. Powerful people respect resilience, not the performative kind where you pretend nothing bothers you, but the real kind where you feel the heat, acknowledge it, and keep moving anyway. When someone melts under minor stress, it creates a liability for everyone around them. It broadcasts a message. If things get genuinely difficult, this person will either vanish or become another problem to solve. Nobody operating in serious environments wants fragility attached to their momentum. It's not cruelty, it's survival instinct. Another pattern that sends powerful people running is the compulsive overtalker. Not the charismatic storyteller who commands a room, but the anxious rambler who fills every silence because they're terrified of being judged in the quiet. You can feel it. The nervous energy pouring out in explanations nobody asked for, details that don't matter, words rushing to fill space because stillness feels like exposure. High-level individuals are extraordinarily sensitive to this kind of energy. The moment they sense someone dumping noise into the air out of discomfort with their own presence, they shut down. Because for them, silence isn't awkward, it's clarity. It's breathing room. When someone fears silence, it reveals they fear themselves too. It shows a mind that hasn't learned to observe, only to react blindly. And people who react without thinking can't be trusted with anything that actually matters. Then there's the person who makes everything transactional. They can't give a compliment without expecting one back. They only reach out when they need something. They treat every relationship like a vending machine. Insert kindness, receive benefit. Powerful people recoil instantly because their entire existence is surrounded by people trying to extract value from them. When they sense someone approaching the world with, "What can I get?" instead of "What can I create?" they mentally step back. Real power, the kind that lasts, is built on generating value, not calculating shortcuts. Someone constantly measuring what they can take hasn't learned how to build anything worth keeping. And that makes them a taker, not a partner. There's also the person who glorifies distraction as identity. They brag about binge-watching entire series. They joke about not reading anything meaningful since high school. They treat entertainment consumption like a lifestyle achievement. It immediately signals mental poverty, not because rest is bad, but because prioritizing escape over growth reveals exactly where someone's trajectory ends. Powerful individuals have learned that attention is the engine of life. And if that engine is perpetually pointed at quick dopamine hits, the future is already written. When someone talks passionately about their comforts, but vaguely about their ambitions, it's like hearing someone narrate their own stagnation with pride. That's deeply unsettling to people who fought tooth and nail to escape that very trap. What about the person who takes everything personally that isn't personal at all? They get left out of plans and assume it's rejection. They receive feedback and hear attack. A stranger gives them a neutral glance, and they internalize it as judgment. This creates emotional gravity, heavy, exhausting, suffocating. Powerful people avoid it like toxic air, not from lack of compassion, but because they cut and keep pausing their momentum to reassure someone who treats every inconvenience like a wound. They need people who can observe without spiraling, who can separate fact from feeling, who can handle reality without rewriting it into personal tragedy. And here's the one that quietly reveals everything: a habit of waiting. Waiting to feel motivated. Waiting for perfect timing. Waiting for someone else to create the opportunity. Waiting for circumstances to shift before they shift themselves. That someday mindset is the spiritual core of poverty. Powerful people smell it instantly because they've lived the opposite. Acting before feeling ready. Deciding before having certainty. Moving even when fear whispered to stay still. When they encounter someone who lives in perpetual preparation mode, they know that person will stay exactly where they are. You cannot build anything meaningful with someone who's forever getting ready, but never stepping forward. What makes these patterns so dangerous is that they feel invisible to the person carrying them. They blend into personality, into normalcy, into just how I am. And the world doesn't usually call them out directly because it feels too confrontational, too harsh. So people continue operating from these frameworks while watching doors quietly close, opportunities fade, and relationships with powerful individuals never quite materialize. And they wonder why. They see others advancing and think it's luck, connections, privilege. But often, it's simply that those people stopped broadcasting the subtle frequencies that signal chaos, neediness, and self-sabotage. Consider the person who constantly broadcasts their struggle, not in vulnerable human moments, but as a core identity. Every conversation becomes an update on what's going wrong, who wronged them, how unfair everything feels. They believe they're sharing reality, but to someone who's navigated genuine adversity, it sounds like someone romanticizing their obstacles. Powerful people come from struggle too, but they don't nest inside their pain like it's a home. They move through it with quiet ownership. When they meet someone living inside an endless narrative of suffering, they recognize bringing that person into any meaningful environment will multiply problems, not because they're bad people, but because they haven't separated identity from circumstance. There's also the theatrical personality, the person who treats every interaction like a stage performance. Exaggerated reactions, dramatic pauses, emotions displayed at maximum volume like they're earning points for being relatable. That performative energy drains people who value authenticity and clarity. High-level individuals don't want to decode theatrics to figure out what's real and what's show. It's exhausting, like trying to read truth through layers of fog. They're drawn to people whose energy feels steady and genuine, not flat, but real, without the constant need to impress or entertain. When someone performs constantly, it usually hides insecurity, instability, or an inability to sit with who they actually are underneath the mask. Another pattern that shuts doors immediately is blaming the invisible collective enemy. They don't want people like me to succeed. Everyone these days is corrupt. People always do this. This kind of thinking magnetizes stagnation. It signals the person doesn't believe in personal influence or adaptability. Powerful people cannot align with someone who sees themselves as a perpetual victim of unnamed forces. The moment someone builds identity around external control, around they always or people like me can't, it becomes clear they've surrendered agency. If they fail, it won't be their fault. If they succeed, it'll be accidental. There's no accountability, no ownership, no foundation to build on. Something rarely discussed, but immediately noticed is emotional clutter. This appears in small ways that speak louder than dramatic meltdowns. Holding grudges over trivial misunderstandings. Replaying conversations days after they've ended. Being offended by neutral tones. Assuming negative intentions where none exist. When someone carries that much emotional static, it spills into everything they touch. It slows communication, complicates simple decisions, turns straightforward tasks into psychological minefields. High-level people understand that environments become as chaotic as the people within them. Someone who can't let go, can't interpret neutrally, can't move on quickly, introduces unnecessary friction everywhere they go. Powerful people don't hate them for it. They simply create distance because life is challenging enough without manufactured drama. Then there's the person who signals ambition without structure. They talk big dreams, loud goals, expansive visions, but their daily actions contradict everything. They'll describe the business they want to build while oversleeping regularly. They speak of discipline while living in constant distraction. They say they want freedom while clinging desperately to comfort. To powerful people, this mismatch isn't inspiring. It's alarming. It reveals someone who loves the feeling of ambition more than the execution of it. People who chase the emotional high of big ideas without follow-through create instability. They're unpredictable. They ignite then disappear. They commit loudly then retreat quietly. It's not their dreams that repel. It's their lack of congruence between words and actions. One that cuts deeper than most realize is approaching life from scarcity, even when nothing is actually scarce. You see it when someone hoards opportunities, withholds information, or flinches at others' success. It's a mindset declaring, if they win, I lose. That mentality disgusts powerful people almost instantly because they've learned abundance isn't a belief, it's a skill. Someone who cannot celebrate others, cannot share value, cannot feel genuine joy at peers succeeding, reveals they measure everything through fear. Scarcity thinking is contagious, and powerful people protect themselves from it like a virus. They know someone viewing the world as a battlefield of limited rewards will eventually compete destructively, undermine subtly, or sabotage unintentionally. Another immediate distance creator is arguing purely for ego preservation, not seeking truth or understanding, just avoiding being wrong. Every discussion becomes a tug of war where the goal is winning, not learning. High-level individuals cannot operate in that environment. They thrive where ideas flow, evolve, shift, where being corrected is progress, not insult. Someone who debates emotionally refuses to listen, interprets disagreement as disrespect creates gridlock, and gridlock kills progress. Powerful people value fluidity, the capacity to say, maybe I'm wrong, or help me understand, or let us explore another angle. Ego-driven resistance is a luxury they cannot afford to surround themselves with. Consider also the inability to sit with boredom. Someone constantly needing stimulation, music, scrolling, noise, chatter sends a clear signal. Their mind is untrained. Powerful individuals know stillness is where clarity emerges, where strategy takes shape, where creativity breathes. When someone cannot be alone with their own thoughts, it reveals they're ruled by impulse. And impulse-driven people are subtly dangerous. They say things they don't mean, commit to things they can't sustain, break trust unintentionally, sabotage themselves constantly. Being allergic to silence isn't a harmless personality quirk. It's evidence of internal chaos that will inevitably leak outward. And here's one final pattern: expecting relationships to fix what discipline should build. Someone feels lonely, so they cling. They feel insecure, so they demand constant reassurance. They feel unmotivated, so they seek partners who will push them. Powerful people run from this dynamic immediately. They're not looking for dependence to manage or emotional crutches to provide. They want partners, friends, collaborators, people who stand on their own foundation. When someone leans on others for what they should build internally, it creates imbalance. It drains. It suffocates. It guarantees eventual resentment. All these habits, whether subtle or obvious, dramatic or quiet, share one common root. They reveal someone who hasn't built internal authority, someone whose emotions lead them instead of following them, whose fears shape their actions, whose impulses outrun their intentions. And the moment a powerful person senses that, they step back, not to judge harshly, but to protect what they've worked to create. These patterns don't make someone unworthy as a human being. They make someone unready for certain rooms, certain conversations, certain opportunities. And unready people burn opportunities without meaning to, not from malice, but from lack of foundation.